Hello everyone, this is part 1 of What If Naruto Was Exiled and Built a New Village. This story is made by JackOfBladesX, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. The city was bustling with life. It was early morning in the rather young village and the people were crowding the streets. The village was rather large, going on for miles. In the center one could see a tall building, towering over all other buildings. The tower was the center of the village. It was easily the tallest building in the village, towering to at least 10 stories tall. If one were to stand at the very top, they would see vast forests, and beyond that one would see a chain of mountains surrounding the entire village. This was Suki. This was the village hidden in the moonlight. In town, a young boy was walking down the busy road. The boy had medium shoulder length, spiky hair. This child was wearing a black coat, which reached down to his mid-thigh, a fishnet shirt, could be seen through the open buttons of the coat, black pants, black boots, and fingerless black gloves. Lastly, this child was wearing a red headband, tied around his forehead. He was walking down the street towards his intended destination. What idiot decided that the academy should be this early in the morning? Said the black-clad youth, as he pulled out a stick of pocky and began munching on it. You know, Yamy, you say that every morning, exclaimed another, slightly taller, boy with long brown hair. The black-clad youth, Yamy, turned around to see his oldest friend. This new taller ball was clad in a grey coat, grey pants, and traditional blue ninja sandals. This boy has a more muscular build to him and was half a foot taller than Yamy. Banketsu, it's just so damn troublesome waking up this early. I bet that Abakan has something to do with it, groaned Yamy while continuing to walk, now with Bankostu at his side. Banketsu grinned at that comment. Don't let Megumi-sensei hear you say that, you know she's touchy about her age, warned Banketsu. Whatever. Hey guys, screamed a female voice. Both boys turned around to see the owner of the voice, a red-headed young girl, who was about an inch shorter than Yamy. The young woman in question was wearing a green sleeveless shirt, black shorts, and brown sneakers. The sight of her in shorts was enough to almost give Banketsu a nosebleed. A swift blow, from the elbow, to Banketsu's gut, courtesy of Yamy, brought him out of his reverie. Hey, move it, you two were going to be late for the genin exam, exclaimed the girl as she ran by the two boys, her waist-length red hair flowing in the wind. Damn it, it's way too freaking early for Kasai's perkiness, groaned Yamy. Oh, chill out, she's excited because of the exams. She's been like this all month, stated a grinning Banketsu. Yay, whatever, lover boy, replied Yamy. Let's just get this over with so I can get back to sleep. Lazy bum. Ninja Academy. By the time the trio arrived, half the class was already present. They took close to the back of the classroom. Kasai grabbed a seat in the 4th row, there were 6 rows total, and started talking with another friend. Yamy and Banketsu found their way to the 6th row, their normal seats, and did what they did every day before class started. Banketsu used every last ounce of his ninja skills to spy on Kasai. Yamy, on the other hand, found a more productive way to spend his time. ZZ, the sound that everyone knew meant one thing: Yamy was sleeping in class, again, for the 8th time this week, and it was only Wednesday. Dream. Yamy was sitting on a tree branch in the middle of the vast forest. Trees were all surrounding him on all sides. Tears were sliding down Yamy's face. Some sakura petals were falling from the trees and one landed on his lap. Suddenly, Yamy turned to see a silver-haired boy flying towards him. His arms extended out to each side, each holding a wakizashi. It looked like the boy was gliding at him using the short swords as wings. Weakling. The silver-haired youth was about to reach Yamy when suddenly everything went black. Ninja Academy. Ha. Oh. Just a dream, though Banketsu. He found himself disturbed from his dream by roars of yelling. He didn't need to turn to see what commotion was all about. For it happened every morning. The most popular girl had just walked into the academy, Uzumaki Kitsune. And every guy is crowding her, trying to ask her out. After taking a glance down, he noticed that half the guys there weren't even in the graduating class. Troublesome, thought Yamy. For the life of him he couldn't understand what the big deal about her was. So what if she was the hottest girl in class? So what if she is going to be named Rookie of the Year? So what if her great-grandfather, Uzumaki Naruto, was the founder and first Tsukikage of the village? Damn it, Yamy mentally cursed. Though he could care less about Kitsune, he did have nothing but respect for the great Naruto. He was the greatest ninja of his time. He brought many ninjas together to create Tsukikage. He defeated 9 of the 12 members of Akatsuki. He created the awesome S-no Jutsu. Yamy flinched at that last thought and then growled. Damn, Bankatsu is rubbing off on me. He took one last glance at Kitsune and actually caught her gazing at him. The gazes locked on each other for a while. Finally Kitsune was broken out of her trance by the person who Yamy dubbed the most annoying insect on this planet. Jimin Gekani. Jimin was a member of the most prestigious clan in Hidden Village, well right after the Uzumaki clan. Oh my beautiful Kitsune-chan, let me take you away from these brutish creatures. Bellowed the insect, I mean Jimin. Kitsune slightly grinned at this. The other boys growled at Jimin. Yamy decides to continue his nap. It's alright Jimin-san, really, comments Kitsune. After looking up once more at Yamy she moves to her normal seat in the front row. Jimin follows Kitsune's gaze only to find that she was gazing upon Yamy, which made his bee boil. He hated when Kitsune paid attention to other boys, however for some odd reason he especially hated Yamy. He decided to go torment him, like he did every morning, so he started to walk up the stairs. Last, what are you doing here? You don't honestly believe someone like you could possibly pass the genin exam? Asked Jimin. Yamy cracked open an eye and mentally sighed, troublesome. Worry about yourself Jimin, stated Yamy, who then proceeded to go back to sleep. Jimin sneered at Yamy's indifference but quickly regained his composure and simply stated, yay right, once AD last, always AD last. Jimin then started walking down the stairs. Yamy then received a quick elbow to the gut from Bankatsu, the signal. Yamy then cracked open both his eyes, not enough for anyone to see his eyes open but enough for him to see Jimin. No one saw Yamy's ice blue eyes shift to a shining silver color. He then started to concentrate and sent out his invisible hand, which grabbed Jimin's right leg just as he was walking. Jimin screamed as he started to fall down the stairs like he, for some reason beyond his comprehension, did every morning. Him crashing at the bottom started a roar of laughter from most of the class. Bankatsu and Kasai were cracking up. Yamy was smirking, his eyes has already shifted back to blue. Kitsune was trying to suppress her giggles, and failing miserably. Most of the rest of the class were laughing as well, except Jimin-kun. Jimin's fangirls, who proceeded to help him back up. What is all the commotion in here? Shouted an older woman wearing a standard Junin uniform. This black-haired, blue-eyed woman was Megumi Tsunami, the academy teacher. She gazed around the room side. She was of course one of the only people who knew about Yamy's gift. After casting him a quick glare she ordered all the students to their seats. Yamy's little talent seemed to always be used against Jimin. He could clearly remember when he learned of this little skill. Flashback playground, 3 years ago. A young boy with spiky black hair was being held up by his collar by another boy. Ha, you're such a weakling Yamy, you'll never become a ninja. Chibi Yamy was trying to hold back his tears after being beaten up by the other boy for the 5th time this year. Ban, Kot, Su, groaned the youth. HN, why don't you just go home and cry to your mommy? Oh wait, that's right. You don't have one. You're all alone, teased Chibi Bankatsu. With this Yamy's eyes widened, his normally blue eyes started to shine an eerie silver color. Chakra started to flare from him. Bankatsu could only stare in shock. Leave me alone, screamed Yamy. At the last syllable a wave shot out from the boy that sent Bankatsu flying at least 20 feet, dropping Yamy on the ground at the same time. Chibi Yamy could only stare in shock at the now unconscious boy. A few seconds later Yamy felt sleep take him. End flashback academy classroom. Soon afterwards Bankatsu apologized to Yamy, in hopes of escaping a beating himself. Soon after that however they became good friends. Bankatsu enjoyed the fact that Yamy could help him pull pranks on other kids. Yamy enjoyed the fact that Bankatsu didn't have a crush on Kitsune, his was on Kasai. Yamy's power. Soon after the incident Yamy worked up the courage to try and recall the power. After weeks of trying, he succeeded in levitating a small leaf into the air. 5 seconds later, he fell unconscious. After using it the first time, Yamy was able to summon it a lot easier than before. Every day he would train his new power in secret, enhancing it. Today he could pick up items, with his mind, that are about twice the weight of which he can pick up with his arms, for about half a minute. However, this skill did require a great deal of chakra to use, and it also required more control for the heavier objects. So while he was training his telekinesis, he was also training his chakra control. Today he has almost completely mastered the tree climbing exercise. However, he also chose to train his body. He trained hard in the academy's basic taijutsu. At times he would mix up his power with his taijutsu, using the former to push his punches or kicks in the direction he chooses for added power and speed. He also uses it to maneuver his own body for dodging. Lastly, he uses it to improve his less than average aim. He's getting quite adept at controlling a Fuma shuriken. Unfortunately, training these skills cost him to neglect his ninjutsu and genjutsu. Yamy only knew the basic of all jutsu, Henjin Bushin. He however was miserable with genjutsu. Yamy shuddered when he thought of the Megumi sensei's pop quiz. Megumi casted a genjutsu on all her students as they were leaving the classroom. Kitsune and some of the other students noticed the illusion right away and dispelled it. It took other students a little while longer. Poor Yamy, and some others, were stuck walking around the academy building for hours trying to find their way home. Alright, I'm going to call all of you to the back room one by one and we'll begin the genin exam, stated Megumi. Megumi left the room and one by one started to call out students to start their exams. 5 minutes later, Uzumaki Kitsune got up and started walking to the back room, but not before receiving good lucks from almost all the class, 10 phone number, 8 date offers, and 3 marriage proposals. 1 minute later, Kitsune came out proudly wearing her new hat, with a crescent moon on the metal plate. No surprise there, thought Yamy. She sat back down in her seat. Oshida Banketsu got up and left to the back rooms after Yamy and Kasai wished him luck. 2 minutes later, Banketsu came out, wearing his hat around his neck, with a grin on his face. Azuki Kasai. It was Kasai's turn and she looked nothing short of confident. She got up and ran to the back room before Yamy or Banketsu could wish her any luck. 1 minute later, Kasai walked out wearing her hat to tie back her hair. Banketsu nearly whooped with joy. Gekani Jimin. After receiving cheers from the girls, he strutted off to the back room. 1 minute later, Jimin walks back into the classroom wearing his hat as a belt buckle. Yamy groaned mentally when he saw Jimin smirk in his direction. Hikari Yamy. Yamy got up and lazily walked down the stairs after Kasai and Banketsu wished him luck. When he reached the bottom, he was surprised when he heard his name. Yamy-san. Yamy turned to the owner of the voice, Kitsune. Good luck, she said. Yamy could only raise an eyebrow before stuttering, thank you. He then proceeded to walk off confused. She hadn't talked to him in nearly 5 years, let alone wish him luck. It was that day. Yamy. A loud voice shouted, breaking him out of his trance. Hurry up or I'll fail you now, shouted an angry-looking Megumi. Yamy knew his Megumi-sensei wouldn't do that, they were far too close, no matter how many times he called her a Bakan, or how many times she violently woke him up when he falls asleep. Even still he decided not to annoy her further. Yamy only nodded and walked straight through the door. Ninja Academy, back room. Yamy looked around the room. In the front of the room, Megumi-sensei took her seat right next to the Godime Tsukikage. Weizujin, the fifth, was a wise old man wearing traditional dark blue robe and hat of the Tsukikage. Around the two sat multiple Junins. They were all wearing standard Junin uniforms. Probably the Junin senseis, thought Yamy. Both Megumi and Weizu smiled warmly at Yamy. Some of the Junins were merely looking at Yamy in anticipation. Some were indifferent. The rest were glaring at him. If looks could kill, Yamy would have killed over the second he walked in the room. Seeing these Junins look at him in such a manner made Yamy's blood boil. They're glaring at me again, and it's all because of that bastard. Yamy. Ha. Yamy was once again broken out of his trance. Megumi sighed. Would you please pay attention for once? Megumi groaned. Okay Yamy, we'll start out with your aim. From where you currently are, you must hit the target behind you. You must hit at least one bullseye. You may choose to use a kunai, shuriken, or senbon. You may throw when you're ready, however you only have 5 chances to hit the bull's eye. Megumi explained. Yamy mentally sighed. He hated marksmanship test. He didn't particularly like any of the 3 selections. He could stand Fuma shurikens because it was easier to use with his telekinetic powers. He turned to see the target. It was a good 20 feet away. Yamy pulled out one of his shuriken and aimed. Yamy's eyes momentarily shifted silver once again. Finally he threw. It went far and fast and hit the bull's eye without any problems. Most of the Junis were surprised. Some mutterings things like, "He got it in one shot. Isn't this kid supposed to be the D last?" Yamy mentally groaned, "I swear you fall asleep a few times in class and I'm suddenly D last. Well actually there were those times during tests, and that one time when I was sparring, Megumi still can't figure out how I fell asleep on my feet. Hell I don't even know that, Megumi and Weizu smiled to each other knowingly. Weizu also knew all about Yamy. Very good, Megumi praised. Now I want you to show me either one of the academy jutsus. Whenever you're ready you may begin. This one Yamy had no problems with doing. Because of the training he did in his other skills he never learned any other jutsus. However he did learn great chakra control, which always helps him out in all his ninjutsu. He performed the Bushin no Jutsu. He created 3 perfect clones of himself. Megumi and Weizu both smiled once again. They knew that Yamy would ace the test. Besides his lure of D last. Weizu stood up walked up to Yamy. Congratulations Yamy-kun, I present to you the heat of Suki Gaku. You are now officially a genin of the village hidden in the moonlight. With that Weizu handed Yamy his heat. After removing his headband Yamy tied it around his head and smiled at the old man. Thank you Tsukikage-sama, Yamy bowed respectfully. The Tsukikage was one of the only people that Yamy could stand. He never looked at him with those eyes like the other people do. He always tried to help him. Tsukikage-sama and Megumi-sensei are the ones who looked after me after mother. Fantastic job Yamy. Megumi's voice once again broke Yamy out of his trance. She smiled sadly at him and gave him a small hug. Seeing her smile like that made Yamy believe that she was going to miss him. Oh how wrong he was. Yamy bowed once again and walked out the room. Weiju's face suddenly became very serious. Well, what do you think about him? Asked the cage. No. That walking sin. The Junin couldn't finish. A glare from both the cage and Megumi almost made him choke. The Junin chose to reiterate. I mean, that young man does have skills, however the 9 chosen are much better candidates. Both Weizu sighed. Very well then. You're all dismissed, stated Weizu. With that all the Junins puffed out of the room, only Weizu and Megumi were left. Megumi had to suppress her tears. She was about to leave when the Tsukikage caught her attention. Megumi, do you remember these 2 students? They were in your class last year, asked Weizu, as he pulled out 2 pictures. Ninja Academy, classroom. As Yamy walked into the academy he could see Banketsu, Kasai, and Kitsune smile at him. Megumi walked in after Yamy. Congratulations to those of you who passed today, and those of you who didn't will have to try again next year. Come back early, she could hear Yamy groan, tomorrow morning for your team assignments. You're all dismissed. With that Megumi puffed out of the classroom. The students started to run home to their parents. Some continued to bug Kitsune, and others continued to bug Jimin while he continued to bug Kitsune. Kasai on the other hand grabbed both Yamy and Banketsu and proceeded to drag their favorite hangout, the Ikaitaku ramen stand. Ikaitaku ramen stand. The old lady, known to the trio as Ramen Lady, looked up to see her favorite 3 costumers. Hello you 3, what may I get for you? Asked Natsuko Ichigo. 1 pork ramen, said Yamy. 1 chicken ramen, said Banketsu. 1 shrimp ramen, said Kasai. Coming right up, stated Natsuko. Natsuko was the owner of Ikaitaku ramen stand. She was a middle-aged woman, wearing a purple kimono. She had black hair and yellow eyes. The original owner was said to be the best ramen cook in the world. He owned it many decades ago, back when the first Tsukikage was still alive. The story goes that the first was spent years looking for the best ramen chef in the world, and when he found him he gave him the job on the spot and agreed to give him a restaurant in his village. However, that was probably just a rumor. It's also said that the first was there every day and ate at least 40 bowls of ramen a day. Finally, after all the hard work, we're finally genin, screamed Kasai. Bankatsu grinned. Yay, I just hope we're all on the same team. That would be awesome. We'll find out tomorrow, nothing we can do but wait, stated Yamy, fingering his forehead protector. Ramen's ready, eat up kids. Thank you, replied the kids. They all ate in silence afterwards. When Bankatsu was finished, he turned to Yamy and said, Hey Yamy, do you mind being my guinea pig? I mean, would you mind helping me test out a new skill? Bankatsu tried to look innocent after his slip-up. Yamy's eyebrow twitched. Jackass, he muttered. So will you help me out? Yay, sure, but first I'm going to have another bowl. Awesome, I'll meet you over at training field 14 inches, stated Bankatsu as he ran off, after leaving the money he owed. Hey, wait up, I'll come with you, Kasai yelled and ran off, also after leaving what she owed. Yamy sighed, one miso ramen please. Natsuko smiled, coming right up. After he was finished, he paid and left to training field 14. Training field 14. Yamy was walking towards the training field when suddenly, ahhhhh. The scream caught Yamy's attention. Bankatsu. You bastard, what have you done to him? He heard Kasai scream. With that, Yamy started running full speed towards the training field. What he saw made his a fearful Kasai right next to him. You underhanded, dishonorable bastard. She screamed again, looking towards one of the trees. There standing was none other than Gekani Jimin. Jimin smirked and said, dishonorable you say? The idiot was caught in a simple trap. Any ninja worth their heat could easily have avoided it. Besides, ninjas don't play this honorable game. Any ninja who plays fair needs to go back to the playground. Besides, it's Yamy's fault. After I heard you talking at Ikaitaku, I ran up here to plant that trap for him, not for that big lug. Yamy sneered at that last remark. Kasai was fuming. She opened her mouth again but was off when Yamy spoke. That's enough, Kasai. Unfortunately, the bastard is right. A ninja's main weapon is deception. Help Bankatsu to the hospital. But what about you? Asked a scared Kasai. Don't worry about me, just help Bankatsu. Snapped Yamy. With that, Kasai proceeded to help Bankatsu up and drag him away. But not before he heard Bankatsu mutter, be careful. Yamy and Jimin both turned to each other, started to stare each other down. Jimin was wearing a white robe, which probably had his clan symbol of full moon on the back. From his position, Yamy could also see that he was wearing grey pants with matching boots. What worried Yamy most was the long katana at Jimin's side. He couldn't see the heat, it was probably still being used as a belt under the robe. Jimin spoke, seems the D-last needs to be taught a lesson. If you apologize now, I just might let you go. Go to hell, replied Yamy coolly. Yamy got into the basic academy taijutsu stance. Damn it, this is what I get for leaving my weapons at home, Yamy mentally cursed. Jimin on the other hand was pissed. How dare he insult me, I'll make him pay. Jimin pulled out a kunai with his left hand and grabbed the handle of his katana with his right. They both stared at each other down, waiting for the other to make the first move. Yamy's cold blue eyes staring at Jimin's red ones. You pisho, that would have hurt like hell. Screamed an enraged psychic. Jimin turned around in time to see Yamy punch him. After the first strike, Yamy quickly aimed a roundhouse kick, and with a momentary shift from blue to silver, the kick sped up. A few meters away, in a tree, hidden from the view of both combatants, one could see the godime and a young boy with glasses. So what do you think? Asked the older man. You're right, he's good, but the final decision belongs to Okami, stated the spectacled boy. The older man only nodded. He then turned to two Anbu and said, grab Gekani Jimin and take him home, and make sure to tell Gekani-sama of his transgressions today. The Anbu only nodded and disappeared. Back with Yamy. Yamy started to get up, though he was still severely weakened from his chakra usage. Suddenly he saw two Anbu appear next to the Gekani. The one in the bear mask spoke first, good job kid. The bear-masked Anbu picked up the Gekani and disappeared. The one in the frog mask spoke next, your friend was taken care of and sent home, his W were nothing serious but he'll need his rest. He should be fine by tomorrow. So you should go home and recover yourself. After that the frog-masked ninja disappeared. Yamy sighed and decided to accept the Anbu's advice. He'd see Bankatsu and Kasai later. A 5-year-old child was running through the streets. Said boy had a beautifully wrapped package in his tiny arms. He was smiling in his run. This will definitely make Mama smile, the boy thought. The boy reached his home. A large two-story white mansion. A large front yard, covered with flowers. The boy reached the door and opened it. Mommy. The black-haired boy called out. No answer. Mommy. He tried again. Still no answer. The child started walking through the house. He froze when he reached the doorway leading to the kitchen. Ah. The black-haired teen suddenly jumped up from his position on his bed. He was sweating profusely and breathing rapidly. Yamy looked around. He was still in his room of his small apartment. Once his breathing settled and his heart rate returned to normal, he checked his clock. He had another hour before he absolutely needed to leave. Normally he would go back to sleep for another 50 minutes and spend the last 10 getting ready, but after that night he wouldn't be getting back to sleep. He never could after dreaming of his mother. He decided to start getting up. He grabbed a towel and jumped in the shower. 10 minutes later he came back out with the towel wrapped around his waist. He walked to his dresser and proceeded to get dressed. Looking at the mirror he could see his birthmark, its location where his neck meets his shoulder. His inheritance from his father. Yamy sneered at the weird mark. It consisted of 3 black commas with the tails pointing outwards in different directions. Around it was a tattoo that was added later on order of the Suki. It was a black seal designed in the kanji for light. Sound bastard, cursed Yamy. Yamy got dressed in his usual attire, his new heat in place of his old red headband. Yamy recalled a day about a year after the incident with his mother. He had attempted to see out the mark when Megumi stated that it was from his father. Megumi of course stopped him quickly, stating that even if he were to see it off, its evil will still be there and would again after his W healed. About a year after that the Tsukikage finally learned what the abomination was, however no matter how many times young Yamy asked, the Tsukikage never told him what the mark was. He simply said, "It's a curse, Yamy, and it could very well be the reason you can use your blood limit. We can't remove it, but I have a friend that can contain it." Soon the Tsukikage's friend arrived and added the seal on Yamy's birthmark. His blood limit, the signature move of all the Hikari clan, the Light clan, the Hikari Kakuen, Light Whip. It was a beautiful whip created out of pure chakra. The size of the whip was directly related to the skill of the user, and although the chakra consumption was enormous, the whip itself was D in the right hands. Megumi said his mother, Keirai, was a master of it. According to Megumi, Keirai once took out 23 enemy genin by herself with a 25 feet Hikari Kakuen. Though he didn't get Hikari Kakuen, he seemed to develop the odd ability to move objects with his mind. Yamy, now fully dressed, went to sit down at his table and started eating his usually breakfast, a box of Pocky. The second blood limit of the Hikari clan never received an official name, most opting to call it a number of different things. Megumi however called it psychic precognition. She said it gave Keirai the ability to see dangerous things before they happened. Your mother was able to detect ambushes long before they occurred. It was like she saw the enemy without being anywhere near them, stated Megumi. Another skill that was lost through Yamy, or perhaps merely broken. He remembered he dreamed the fight he had with Banketsu the night before it occurred. But that could have been merely a coincidence. Yamy had gotten beaten up before when he was younger and never dreamed a thing. Secondly, Megumi stated that the Hikari clan were able to see when they were still awake, not dreaming. Yamy groaned and clutched his birthmark in anger. He was impure. He was an impure member of a clan that sounded so pure. It was for these reasons that Yamy would never accept his role as the head of the Hikari clan. The Hikari clan, though one of the most prestigious clans in Tsukigakure, was rather small and most members died out until it was only Keirai and himself. Then his mother gave up on life completely. To Yamy he wasn't the clan survivor. To him the clan died out with Keirai. He couldn't even perform the clan's signature jutsu. No matter how much the Godime and Megumi urged him otherwise. Yamy even refused to live in the Hikari estate. Not because he felt himself unworthy to live in his clan's estate, although he does, but because he just couldn't stand living there after his mother's suicide. The Tsukikage had helped him acquire this small apartment about 3 weeks after incident. He'd been living with Megumi before then. He didn't have to worry about money. Being in one of the 5 most prestigious clans of Tsukigakure had its benefits. He looked to his opened closet. There hanged an untouched, elegant, black ceremonial robe that signifies the head of the Hikari. Weizu had given it to him for his last birthday. Usually, the higher-ups of the most prestigious clans would wear robes everywhere. However, Yamy was opted to keep his normal outfit. Weizu was a little disappointed but decided to let it go. Yamy, I want you to keep the robe and I'll hold the estate for you until you're ready to live in it. Someday I know you will be ready to take your position as clan head. I'll wait for that day, stated Weizu in a matter-of-fact tone. Yamy sighed. He really didn't want to disappoint the Godime, however he just didn't think he would ever be able to be a clan head. He was still overly haunted by his mother's final decision. Other people, who were friends of Karai, always blamed Yamy for his mother's death because of what he was. And though he never admitted it to anybody, Yamy blamed himself as well. The thing that pissed him off most was probably people like Megumi and Weizu who looked at him with pity. Though he loved Megumi and Weizu like parents, he didn't like being pitied. Yamy finally finished his healthy breakfast and walked out the door, but not before grabbing another box of Pocky and slipping under his jack, with his some weapons. He didn't feel like lugging around his Fuma shurikens all day, so he opted to take his regular shuriken. With that he was out the door. Though he didn't get Hikari Kakuen, he seemed to develop the odd ability of moving things with his mind. After he told his sensei and the Tsukikage, they stated that in some ways that would be much useful than. He couldn't help but agree with them. If only he could get over the extreme chakra usage. It's getting easier, all I need to do is practice the tree climbing exercise more, Yamy thought to himself. The tree climbing exercise was an idea of Megumi. Yamy smiled when he recalled the event of him stopping Jimin's kunai a second after he threw it. A year ago he would have tried to perform that move, and although he may have been able to perform, but not without passing out and waking up with a headache. Yamy groaned. The other side effect of his technique was the humongous headache he received. Megumi suggested he keep a bottle of aspirin with him at all times. Yesterday's event taught him to trust her advice. Yo! Yamy turned his head to hear who was yelling and smiled. He stopped and waited for Bankatsu to catch up to him. Bankatsu was one of Yamy's most prized friends. He was one of the only people to know of the silver-eyed Yamy. The other three being Kasai, Megumi, and Weizu. After the incident with his mother, Yamy wrapped himself in a shell that neither Megumi nor Weizu could break. His life consisted of school, some basic training, and getting beaten up by other kids. Finally, after the incident with Bankatsu, he received his first real friend. He also stepped up his training to include telekinesis training and chakra control. About 2 years later, while walking to a training field together, they saw a tired-looking Kasai. Bankatsu quickly turned and opted to walk away. Yamy, however, knowing of his friend's crush, decided on a more direct approach. Flashback training field, 1 year ago. Hey Kasai, yelled Yamy. Bankatsu turned to stare at his friend with wide eyes. Kasai turned to the duo and stared with questioning eyes. Can me and Bankatsu join you and train with you? Bankatsu's eyes, if possible, widened even more. Kasai merely grinned. Sure, let's spar, yelled Kasai. End flashback back with Yamy and Bankatsu. Yamy smiled at the memory of him acquiring his second true friend, and Bankatsu was even happier than he was. Bankatsu took him aside after that and thanked him. They had spent the rest of the day training with Kasai. Which actually was a bad idea, Yamy shuddered. Must remember to never piss her off or I just may be burned alive. Bankatsu finally reached Yamy. Hey, how you feeling? Asked Yamy. Okay now, but how about you, did you beat Jimin? Asked Bankatsu. I froze a kunai, with her explosive note attached, in mid-air about a few feet away from him, grinned Yamy. Hearing that, Bankatsu started cracking up. Ha ha. Oh ha ha, that's hilarious, ha ha. Finally, after recomposing himself, Bankatsu said, you better watch out, sooner or later he's going to find out about you. When he does, he'll probably discover it was you make him fall down the stairs every day. Oh, it will be years before that Barker figures out it's me. And he's supposed to be near the top of the class. You would easily outrank him in the class if you weren't sleeping all day. He's only book smart, he barely has any skills. Has enough skills to catch you in a trap. Shut up. They finally reached the academy. Odd Kasai hasn't caught up to us yet, noted Yamy. She said she was going to come early in the morning to visit me and then walk me to the academy, explained Bankatsu. Bankatsu shuddered. In fact, she came a little too early and my miserable little sister led her to my room while I was changing and Send Sukotsu my love by the way, interrupted Yamy with a smirk. Banketsu's eyebrow twitched. Anyway, like I was saying, she decided to go off ahead without me. I see, stated Yamy. They were about to walk into the building when, you bastard, shouted an enraged voice. Yamy and Banketsu turned to the new voice. Running up to them was an enraged Jimin. He was wearing his usual white robe and apparently he had gotten his sword back. How dare you deceive me with such an underhanded trick? Yamy glared daggers. You started it. In case you forgot, you caught Banketsu in that stupid trap. Yamy snapped back. Banketsu was ready to pounce on Jimin. I demand a rematch and this time I'll make sure you won't cheat. Jimin yelled. Banketsu snapped. Why you little, forget him, we still have a score to settle ourselves. Both Banketsu and Jimin stared at each other. What's going on here? The three turned to see an angry-looking Megumi. There will be no fighting today. Go to class now. Jimin glared back at the two friends. We'll finish this later, worms, stated Jimin, who then stalked off. The two friends sighed and went to class themselves. Academy classroom. Yamy was at his normal seat like normal, half asleep like normal. He looked around the room. There were many ninja hopefuls still in the academy, yet Yamy could only remember some of them. There was Ashida Banketsu, of course, sneaking glances at Kasai. His good friend was definitely one of the more skilled genin at the academy. Wasn't from a particular clan or family, but his father was a well-known ninja and many people hoped he'd inherit his greatness. Needs to pay more attention though, I actually think Jimin taught him a good lesson. Then there was Azuki Kasai. She came from the Azuki family, a family known for using fire-based jutsu and taijutsu. I still have the burn marks to prove it. Then came Jimin. He was a higher-up in the Gekani clan. The Gekani was one of the 5 prestigious clans of Sukigaku, the formed one formed. Known for their Netshugun with its ability to sense heat. They were also known for their unmatched skill with a katana. Still has a lot to learn. Mokuzaikuji was the heir of another of the 5 prestigious clans, formed at about the same time as Hikari. The Mokuzai clan, the Wood clan, had the power to use plants as weapons. It's said that the first Hokage, of Konohagakure, was a relative of this clan, before they became an actual clan. Yamy remembers Kuji simply because, Kuji was good. Kuji was probably the only one that could match Kitsune. Only person I know that can make flowers scary. Then there was Yagami Aki. She's not from any special clan or family. However, she does have a mean punch. She's probably the strongest in the class with taijutsu. Even if I use my power, she still kicks my ass, sighed Yamy, remembering all the beatings he received whenever they sparred. Takabushi Juyu of the Takabushi clan, the Hawkeye clan. The Takabushi wasn't one of the 5 prestigious clans, but they were still greatly respected for their Buenkyugen telescope eye. With it they can see over a mile away. This skill makes them great with ranged weapons, and even better strategists. Juyu was, well, lazy. He was very intelligent but, well, he was lazy. He's fighting Yamy for the position of D last. Don't really know much about him. In the short time whenever one of us is awake, the other is usually sleeping. Next came the Hana, Flower, sisters. Hana Sakura and Hana Ayami. What can one say about the twins? Sadists, both of them. Kasai once said their family belongs to a long line of interrogators, dating all the way back to Konohagakure to a man named, Abigi, or was it Idiki? Single quote dot. Together they can ensnare any one of the guinea pigs, classmates in a genjutsu that will leave them scarred for weeks. They seem to have the odd ability to completely sync with each other. Whenever they fight together they are always perfectly coordinated, though they're not good by themselves. Whenever they're coordinated with each other, they get to the point where they finish the other's sentences. Man, that's weird, shuddered Yamy. Finally came Uzumaki Kitsune, great-granddaughter of Uzumaki Naruto. Much like himself, she was also the last of her clan. Actually, I think her aunt is still alive, but since she wasn't a ninja she couldn't be the heiress. Her parents died when she was young. Her clan's blood limit were a fast regeneration, contract with foxes, and the ability to receive the Kyubi. The latter was only to be given to the head of the clan. Every time someone with the Kyubi, the great fox spirit, would die, Kyubi's spirit would escape and return to a seal within the Uzumaki compound and await the new clan head. Though I think Tsukikage-sama said it could be removed without the person's B. With the QB, the ninja would gain even greater regeneration, the ability to summon the fox boss, and a humongous boost to their chakra supply. This was the secret of the Uzumaki clan. The gift that only an Uzumaki could receive. She's going to receive it on. Okay class, pay attention, called out Megumi-sensei. Successfully breaking Yamy out of his trance, again. Okay, I'm going to read out your team assignments, so pay attention. And so she started to read out the list of teams. Hope I get Banketsu and Kasai on my team. Yamy was surprised during the team listings, as was the rest of the class. Ayami was chosen for a team and Sakura wasn't. Why would they separate the flower twins? They symbolize teamwork. It's a mistake to put them on different teams, thought Yamy and almost the rest of the class. Team 15, Megumi continued not notice, or paying attention, to the fuming twins. Ashida, Banketsu, Yamy, Banketsu and Kasai, were all ears. They crossed their fingers. Azuki Kasai, Yamy felt his heart rate increase. Both of his friends were on the same team. Maybe, just maybe, Takabushi Juyu. Maybe someone wanted him to suffer. Yamy's head dropped to the table. Banketsu and Kasai were both disheartened by this. Yamy merely waited to hear his name. His teammates couldn't be all that bad. Team 19, Hikari Yamy. Yamy was all ears once again. Hope started welling up inside of him. He'd probably still get a good team. Gekani Jimin, Yamy resisted the urge to cry, and Megumi's glare quelled Jimin's urge to scream. Uzumaki Kitsune, oh, and it gets better. Yamy's was still face first against the table. Jimin was seething, and no one could quite tell what Kitsune was thinking. After a few more minutes, Megumi was finally finished. Your senseis will be here in about an hour, don't be late. At that last part she chose to glare at Yamy and Juyu. With that said, she puffed out of the classroom. Students started to exit out of the classroom. Kasai and Banketsu approached Yamy. Hey man, cheer up, just work really hard, 6 months till the Chunin exams. If you don't screw up you can get out of that team, encouraged Banketsu. Yamy could only groan. Cheer up Yamy, we're going to Ikaitaku, while why don't you come with? Asked Kasai. If you don't mind, I'd like to be alone for a while, thanks though, was Yamy's reply. Banketsu and Kasai frowned a bit before complying. With that they left him. Yamy just sat there in his own thoughts when a soft voice caught his attention. Yamy. Yamy looked up to see Kitsune standing right next to his desk with a still seething Jimin right next to him. We wanted to know if you would come have lunch with us, too, get to know each other, as a team I mean. Yamy raised an eyebrow. Why is she being so nice to me? She hasn't even spoken to me since. Well, what's you answer? We haven't got all day, replied an obviously pissed Jimin. A look from Kitsune shut him up though. No way this can end well, better try to get out of it, were Yamy's immediate thoughts. Sorry, didn't bring a lunch. It was true he had already finished the box of Pocky he brought with him. It's not a problem. Neither did Jimin, I brought a big lunch for my whole team. So would you please eat with us, begged Kitsune. He was stuck, he couldn't think of a single way to get out of it. I know I'll regret this. Alright, I'll come. Outside benches. Yamy, Jimin, and Kitsune were all stuck in an uncomfortable silence. Yamy tried to avoid both his teammates' gazes. Jimin was still angry about Yamy's victory. Kitsune had absolutely nothing to say. Every now and then Yamy and Jimin would compliment Kitsune on the lunch. Suddenly Kitsune asked, so why don't we talk about ourselves? Why don't one of you start? Yamy glanced at Kitsune, who was staring at him, and then he shifted to Jimin, who was also staring at him. The psychic sighed. There's not much to tell really. I'm an orphan, I don't know too many jutsu, I prefer taijutsu, and I prefer Fuma Shuriken as a weapon. You're also a coward, sneered Jimin. Yamy glared at the Gekani. Kitsune also glared. That's enough, Jimin, stated Kitsune. No, I've been holding it in for the longest time now, he needs to hear this. Jimin. What's your problem? Yamy. You're a coward. You dishonor your whole family by not living up to your responsibility as a clan heir. Jimin. Yamy's eyes widened. That's why half the village hates you. Jimin. Jimin, please, that's quite enough, pleaded Kitsune. Yamy looked downhearted. I just can't, I'm not even a real Hikari, stated Yamy. I don't give a damn who your father is, all I care about is your mother. She was a Hikari and so are you, stated the Gekani. Yamy eyes widened. Jimin knew about his father. A quick glance on Kitsune suggested that she didn't know a thing. She had a confused expression on her face. The rest of the hour was spent in complete silence. When it was over, they returned back to their classrooms to wait for their sensei. Academy classroom. Yamy was still thinking about Jimin's words. He couldn't think of anything else. Jimin looked to be in deep thought himself, though what he was thinking of was unknown to Yamy. Kitsune was still confused. She didn't know much about Yamy past. She wanted to ask but at the moment thought it might be rude. Junin have been puffing in and out of the classrooms gathering their teams. Suddenly, Team 19, the new team, looked down to see a woman standing by the door. Said woman was dressed as a standard Junin. Dark blue shirt and pants, Junin vest, and dark blue ninja sandals. What caught their attention most was her pupilless bright purple eyes. A Hizuga, thought Yamy. The Hizuga clan was the last most prestigious clan of Tsukigaku. I think their blood limit is the Byakugan. Team 19. She spoke again, effectively breaking Yamy, and apparently Jimin and Kitsune, out of their trance. The three got up and walked to the Junin. She stared at all three. Meet me at the playground. With that she puffed out of the classroom. Wow, I really want to learn that move, Yamy thought as he and his team moved to the roof. Academy playground. All four were in an uncomfortable circle. Kitsune on a swing. Jimin on the edge of a sandbox. Yamy on the monkey bars. Why in the hell did she choose this of all places to meet? And how in the hell is she doing that? The Junin was sitting on one side of a seesaw, however she was still in mid-air, her side of the seesaw would not go down. It was literally as if an invisible weight, much heavier than the Junin, pushing on the other side. After pushing some of her red hair out of her face she spoke, okay, let's introduce ourselves, name, likes, dislikes, hobbies, dreams. Sensei, why don't you go first? Asked Kitsune. Okay, my name is Hizuga Hanade, I like my friends, dislike lots of things, my hobbies including planting and training, and I don't particularly have a dream. Okay, you brooding guy. Pointing at Jimin. He was caught off guard by the comment. My name is Gekani Jimin, I like Kitsune, took a second to look at said girl, who immediately blushed. I dislike cowards, took a second to look at said boy, who resisted the urge to flick him off. My hobby is painting. And my dreams for the future is to win Kitsune's hand. Shouted Jimin. Kitsune, if at all possible, blushed even greater. I'm not even going to touch that, sighed the Junin. Okay, goth kid. Pointing at Yamy. Yamy's eyebrow twitched. Goth. My name is Hikari Yamy. I like my friends, and Pocky, Jimin snorted. That's an understatement, he muttered. Kitsune giggled. Yamy glared but continued, I hate my father. This caught Kitsune's attention, that again wondered what was the deal with Yamy's father. Yamy continued, my hobbies included training my my taijutsu. He didn't want anyone to know about him yet, he'd tell them before their first mission together. Hanade smiled sadly at this. My dream is, well at the moment it's just to be strong, he finished. Seems to be suffering from some issues, I wish I could help him, stupid counsel. Thought Hanade. Okay Uzumaki-sama, you're up. Yamy and Jimin both sweat dropped at the sudden respect the Junin showed. Kitsune smiled sweetly and started to speak. My name is Uzumaki Kitsune. I love my friends, the village, and ramen, was an understatement. Yamy remembers seeing her down 10 bowls of ramen in half an hour. I dislike Otogaku and Konohagaku. Konohagaku was understandable after how they treated her ancestor, and well, everyone hated Otogaku. My hobbies include reading, training, and taking walks. And my dream. She stopped for a second, as if trying to decide whether to go on or not. Yamy noted the unsure look on her face. Finally she smiled again, looked up towards the sky, and said, my dream is ease my ancestor's spirit. My dream is to defeat the immortal Otokage Orochimaru and to free Sasuke Uchiha from his control once and for all. The other ninjas could only stare at the young girl before them. Yamy could do nothing more but stare at the young girl, Orochimaru. A description. Team 19. Yamy, dark, Hikari, light. Rank, genin, Hikari survivor, air. Age, 12. Eyes, ice blue, silver with telekinesis. Hair, black, spiky. Height, 150 centimeters. Build, thin. Clothes, black jacket, reaches to down a little past his hips, fishnet shirt, pants, boots, and fingerless gloves. B. Red headband, switched with heat. Heat position, head. Primary skills, taijutsu, marksmanship, in conjunction with telekinesis. Equipment, 2x Fama Shuriken, Shuriken, bottle of aspirin. Blood limit, telekinesis, psychic precognition, broken. Can't use Haijutsu, Hikari Kakuin, secret technique, light whip. Kitsune, fox, Uzumaki. Rank, genin, Uzumaki clan heiress. Age, 11. Eyes, bright blue. Hair, blonde, long waist. Height, 147 centimeters. Build, P, slightly muscular. Clothes. Heat position, head. Primary skills, summoning contract, fox when she receives QB. Equipment, blood limit, fox contract when she receives QB, demonic regeneration, more powerful when she receives QB, absorb QB. Jimin, pride, Gekani, in the moonlight. Rank, genin, Gekani clan member, higher up. Age, 13. Eyes, red, blue pupil when using Netshugan. Hair, light blue, short. Height, 152 centimeters. Build, muscular. Clothes, white robe, moon on the back. Gray pants, gray boots. Heat position, belt. Primary skills, kenjutsu. Equipment, katana, kunai, shuriken, explosive notes. Blood limit, Netshugan, temperature I. Hanedi Hizuga. Rank, Junin. Instructor. Age, 32. Eyes, bright purple, pupilless. Hair, red, neck length. Height, 175 centimeters. Build, thin. Clothes, standard Junin dark blue shirt, dark blue pants, dark blue sandals, ninja, Junin vest. Heat position, head. Primary skills, Juken. Equipment. Blood limit, Byakugan. Team 15. Banketsu, brute courage, Ashida. Rank, genin. Age, 12. Eyes, brown. Hair, brown, long. Height, 155 centimeters. Build, muscular, bulky for a 12-year-old. Clothes, gray coat, gray pants, and blue ninja sandals. Heat position, neck. Primary skills, equipment. Blood limit, Kasai, fire, Azuki. Rank, genin, Azuki family. Age, 12. Eyes, emerald green. Hair, red, long waist, braided. Height, 149 centimeters. Build, P. Clothes, green shirt, sleeveless, black shorts. Brown sneakers. Heat position, hair. Primary skills, fire-based. Equipment, blood limit, Juyu Takabushi, Hawkeye. Rank, genin, Takabushi clan member. Age, 12. Eyes, brown, mirror-like pupil, with buenkyugan. Hair, blue, spiky. Height, 150 centimeters. Build, thin. Clothes, heat position. Primary skills, equipment, blood limit, buenkyugan, telescope eye. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.